Hello and welcome into another episode of Good Morning NASDAQ. My name is Dom. I am here with my good friends and colleagues, Mr. Michael Hudson and Kyle Williams.
Hello. Hello, chaps.
Hello, how's everyone doing out there? Having a fantastic morning. It is the 13th day of September 2023. It's 9 a.m., 30 minutes till showtime. We're going to get into what we're looking at today, what we've been looking at for the week. This is Free Wednesday. So today we have a special episode of Good Morning NASDAQ where we go through our actual watch list. We kind of leave the gappers alone. We talk about what we're actually looking at, which is usually former runners. And then tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time here on YouTube at the Clover Trading Channel, we have Wine Wednesday where we sit back, relax, have a glass of our favorite red or white or margarita, and talk stocks, answer your questions. And tonight we have some special guests as well. We have odd stock trader Tim Grattani and Sang Lucci coming in for a friendly game of poker and stocks. Correct?
Correct.
Correct. So that'll be a good time if you are into that sort of thing. Free trading education and also a bunch of degenerates playing poker. Stop on by. Leave us a like. Ask a question if you want it asked, answered, and we'll be happy to get to it. If you guys could start right now while you're in here, just hit that like button right now, hit that thumbs up, get it out of the way, get it over with, and we can proceed to the business at hand. And if you're not already in the 3 or 4 leaf Clover room, head on over to clovertrading.io. Get yourself a 7-day trial where you'll get access to everything on the website for the low, low price of $7, $1 a day. That's what Huddy wanted to do. So, yeah. Let's get into her. As I see this like button starting to increase, I like to see that.
Nice.
And if you have any questions about certain tickers or anything going on, leave it. If we have time at the end, we will get to those as well. So let's start with Mr. Kyle Williams.
Alrighty here. Good, lovely Wednesday morning. My two watches today, my main watches, I should say, are ACB and CGC. Yesterday, they were also my two main watches. I think there were a lot of short sellers' main watches, being they were the two hottest wheat stocks in the small cap market. Both, unfortunately, gave short sellers a severe headache in the morning. Huge squeeze blowout over day highs, over red green, over yesterday's highs, and just I don't know who it was or what it was, but everyone and their mother seemed short, so everyone and their mother got squeezed. I took some pretty rough losses on both of them. However, once that blow off was over, they both kind of died, and I reshorted both. I ended up covering CGC yesterday for a small profit. However, I am still short ACB because ACB I think still has a little bit more of downside. It was kind of stubborn yesterday, showing up or kept holding red green while CGC was having its kind of first red day, so to speak. So I do think ACB has a little bit more downside, possibly to 80, maybe 75 best case. I am slightly worried it's going to be choppy pain in the butt and maybe not get there. So I'm willing to accept those risks. But I am still short for that kind of action. CGC, I want to reshort, but I also think the downside is maybe 120, 115. And so, yes, the risk reward right now is good. I just, after having such a choppy day yesterday on it, I don't know if I'm up for the task today again, especially if I stop out again and be like, well, that's lovely. All the work 2 days straight of just getting chopped around on it. So I'm not really a huge fan of that. Other than that, we have AMC. I've talking about this for a long time. And honestly, the ATM I think is probably dried up at this point. I think there's probably still some left, but unfortunately, the last couple of days they've clearly haven't been using it. Even if there is some left, so I'm probably going to avoid that. VFS, I've heard some chatter about their warrants becoming available. However,
You say
I think
VFS?
VFS, yeah. However, I think it became available on September 11th, either 11th or 13th. Either way, if it was the 11th, it hasn't done anything. If it's today, it might do something. But again, either way, I don't see much changing about it. It's already sold off so much that I think any kind of selling that has taken place has already happened. Again, if warrants actually are available, then there's more selling to be had. But again, we're down, what are we down, 80% at this point? It's just something I'm taking a mental note of, but nothing I'm really that excited about. Other than that, we squeezed yesterday. I have an eyeball on that one. No real trade to take on there until they announce an offering, preferably an ATM. And then I'm going to leave that alone.
Quick,
AXLA is
do a
going higher
quick
pre-market
backstory on
here.
WE real quick.
WE is WeWork, and so they're doing the same play, in my opinion, as what AMC did, which is they are pretty much dying and they need cash, and so their only form of quick cash and immediate cash is putting out an offering for shareholders. Um, and so they did a reverse split. They were once well below $1, like well below 20 cents. Did a reverse split up to about $4 and then squeezed all the way up to 6 yesterday. Kind of what AMC did. AMC didn't squeeze, but they reverse split, put themselves all well over $10, and then put out an offering. And now they're down to what is it, 766. So I do think we is going to have that same kind of playbook in them. But again, it could be a few days, a few weeks before they actually put out an offering. So I'm in no rush there until I see an offering and what it is. I may just miss it completely. I mean, they could just put out an offering today saying, 20 million shares at $3. Well, then my offering plan's over. I'm not going to swing short just to catch the offering. I'd rather just wait for them to announce an offering and have it be an ATM like AMC did, and then just short it then, because ATM is my more favorite kind of offering to short. Other than that, that's really pretty much it. I mean, there's other plays like the NVOS and AXLA and CG and GCT, but none of those are really plays for me at the moment. I'm just kind of keeping an eye on them and see what they do today to really dictate how we go forward from there. So
Very nice. Very nice. Eric says September 13th. Today will be VFS.
and I had seen chatter about that, but I've also seen filings that say that's at 11th. So there's a bit of a I think a misinformation here. So I'm not sure which to trust.
On Dilution Tracker, I have a little note from them that says 15 mil SPAC warrants will be exercisable September 13th with exercise price 11.50, which will increase the flow if exercised.
Right. But then I see a filing here. It says, when can I exercise my warrants for these shares? It says you may exercise the warrants for the shares at any time from September 11th, 2023. What are the price of the warrants? Warrants are priced at $11.50 per share. So I don't really know. I think if they are going to come out today and there's been misinformation, you're gonna be able to tell with a little bit extra selling pressure. But if there's no difference, then either they're not using it or it's been available since the 11th and they haven't used it. So that's why I'm a little bit cautious on it. I just don't really know which source to trust. And either way, price action should tell us the final story here. So that's what I'm going to go with.
Yeah, and if it was the 11th, it did try to make new lows, but then last 2 days it's kind of been absorbing in the 15s and then popping back. So
Right.
we'll see today. Keep an eye on her. For me, don't have too much on watch. I sat down last night, tried to make a watch list, and there wasn't anything that I was like, I'm going to be playing tomorrow. So decided against it. So I'll just talk about the tickers that I am keeping an eye on. Obviously, I'm drinking the Kool-Aid of the weed stocks going into election year. Mr. Huddy's been harping on it for weeks now. But it doesn't mean I'm just buying any and every weed stock I can find. I'd rather prefer to wait for the ones with volume. Everything, I talk about. Significant volume relative to the rest of the daily chart. Go on that first run. Show me your range, your volatility, and show me that you're in that right sector and that you're responding to potential good news in the sector in a positive way. And then I'll, keep an eye on those stocks. In CGC, the biggest runner we've had yet over the course of the last 2 weeks. We're already way off the highs at 190. I know a lot of short sellers think this is just going to get destroyed. I tend to think that, the beginning of sector runs, the stocks are more favorable to hold up and at least retest the highs. If this goes sub 1 today, probably not breaking out over 190 anytime soon. But I'm not planning on trading it today. I'm just going to see if we do set a low, if we do hold above $1.20, and start to curl back over the next few days. Maybe next week, this is something I'm watching a lot closer for a breakout. So I'll let the shorts have their fun now and just sit on my hands and wait. And if CGC were to have a nice solid red day today and then another one tomorrow, maybe, what is today? Yeah, maybe Friday then. We have a really nice potential first screen day coming off an extended runner. So I got multiple options, but all of them right now lead for me to just be sitting and waiting. Same type of scenario with ACB, although I kind of feel like ACB is going to hold up. I don't know why I have that feeling. Just this feels like there's a lot more support at higher levels on ACB than there is on CGC. Whereas, CGC, I sold my long at 115 thinking it was a phenomenal sell, and there was still 80 cents of upside. So to get back down to where I thought it was overextended, like there's a lot of room. ACB, this 82 level has been super significant the last 2 days, held all afternoon and after hours, I believe, on what is this, Monday. And then yesterday, that morning pull that got short sellers held 82 again. So if that level continues to hold over today and tomorrow, I start to think that this one can potentially take the baton and be a sector leader for a little while. You have the over under $1 area that I think is going to matter. So this morning will be really interesting if CGC especially stays weak and fades and ACB continues to hold up, because you have a lot of people, especially newbie short sellers, who are kind of taught, the head of the snake thing. And once the head of the snake dies, everything else follows with it. But what happens if the body of the snake is still trending up when, because I think you have a lot of people yesterday who just shorted ACB blindly thinking it was going to go down with CGC. When in reality, ACB actually stayed quite strong, holding the 90 cent area all day, and that's why I tend to use bigger picture time frames versus just like the intraday of yesterday, looking at the entire move. This one as well is over 20 cents off its highs, which is a pretty big percentage. So ACB is one that I will continue to watch very closely. Just understanding, I think I said this yesterday, that there might not be a trade for me today. Probably isn't based off of the stocks I'm watching, but I might be able to create a big edge for myself Friday, Monday, or Tuesday if I just continue to watch these things, watch the levels that matter, and continue to see the theses of short sellers and if they get angry and stubborn or not. So those are kind of the two stocks I'm going to be watching closely. NVOS kind of over this stock, to be honest with you. It's holding above the new breakout level of 35. It would have to be pretty dang perfect to get me back involved on this one for any sort of day trade or one-day swing trade. And then Axla. This one's been tough. You look at the daily chart, you're like, oh, look at all these breakouts, but been kind of difficult to trade just because of where it comes from to make the breakout usually. Like yesterday, from 60 cents, basically kind of like a first green day, turning into a breakout, 100% away from the breakout level almost. But it's still up. It's still holding. I think we have a little bit of a squeeze going on here. That's kind of they take all the volume away, do nothing to the stock, and then squeeze them out, and then it's kind of been rinse and repeat. So if this one were to get wild, go 175 to 2 in a fast manner. I know Kyle would probably be interested in that. I probably would be as well. So that's another one I will be watching. Hudster McBudster.
Alrighty, my turn. For the most part, I'm in the same boat as Dom. Tried to sit down last night, make a watch list. Nothing I really want to trade today, but main focus is going to be the weed stocks moving forward, getting a good gauge for the levels that matter most. If these are going to have secondary moves, I want to be there for them. So just keeping my eye on that tempo and what the weed stocks look like, whether it's sympathy plays and or the main runners. A couple stocks that made it to my watch list that are new. Would be AVTX is one of them. Cheaper stock that had a big gap up yesterday, traded 200 million shares, now gapping up pretty large pre-market today. Nothing for me to do with it just now, but just identifying that we have another cheapy stock that's moving with some nice range and some nice volume, kind of that TTOO NVOS type of look, but really early on. So just identifying that this thing exists and just tucking it away in my back pocket for now. The other one I kind of picked up on is FNGR. FNGR is the newest naked short war pump on Twitter. Again, not one that I really have a plan for right now, but they filed a pretty big shelf and planned on probably diluting pretty nastily at some point during this run up at any moment. They need to do a couple things in order to get that shelf effective. So I have a couple of alerts on FNGR for if and when that filing does come out. I want to be aware that this thing is starting to extend itself, but no play for me right now. I'm not just going to step in front of it for no reason. So these are just things I'm idly watching, and as well as everything else that, Dom said, NVOS still kind of holding that 35-cent level. Axla, just the penny stock runners that are moving with some kind of volatility, but not really in a pattern for me just yet. So just kind of patiently waiting for that.
Glorious. A lot of what we do here as small cap traders, our particular style and niche is really just sitting back, waiting for runners to run. Some of us will short them. Others will be long for that move. Others will be waiting for backside for bounces or for potential continuation for breakouts. But we're really all trading the same life cycle of these stocks. So really just getting a feel and understanding of these daily charts, because as you look at Good Morning NASDAQ, if you join 3 or 4 Leaf into the webinars, what you'll see is the daily charts are very similar over and over and over again, and that's what we're just waiting for, sitting on our hands for predictable moments to attack where we actually have a significant edge. Kyle, for you, Mr. Williams, why isn't GCT a good setup for a second red day?
It could be, and that's the reason why I have it on a watch list. But frankly, I'm not too excited about it.
What's the story here? I haven't seen this one yet. Is this a little promotion or?
Well, that's why I don't know. I want to think it's a promotion, but then I look into it. I'm like, it doesn't seem that sketchy, but it does look pumpish. Certainly yesterday's action gave me the sense that someone or something was selling, whether it be the promoters, whether it be a big firm. So it did get my attention.
Yeah, pretty much all day fade, right?
Right. I just don't have enough information if this is a true scam, if this is going to go to $5 today. Was it just a naturally technical red day yesterday and it just looks like a scam? And today is actually going to have a bounce. I don't have enough indicators or conviction. And so the only thing I could really go off of is price action. And so if the price action looks very similar to yesterday and we start breaking down, say under 13, under 12.50, then maybe I can assume the worst case scenario that this might get to 10 or $9 in a very, second ugly reg day scenario. But again, knowing that I don't know enough, I could also easily see a flip side of this thing just bouncing and then going back to normal. So I don't have enough information. I'd rather price action tell me what's going to happen and then go from there. And so I'm trying to go in with it as clean of a slate as possible. I'm not really trying to go in with a bias of like, this is a second red day setup, because frankly, I just don't have enough information, like I said. So
awesome. Dawson says he didn't get any messages on it for what it's worth. If you guys are bored right now, we have 111 of you in here. Might as well hit the like button if you haven't, just to get over that 50% threshold. Probably need like 7 to 10 of you if you want to volunteer as tribute to just hop in, hit the like button, get that number up. When you look for backside bounce, usually just look for it to hold green. What's your trigger for playing the first green day bounce? This is one of my top setups, the first green day. And what I'm really looking for, I'm trying to think of one that was recent. What is one that was recent? VFS failed 600 times. That one's too old, but I'll just go to CGC and see what I'd want to see. Basically just looking for the trigger for me usually is to hold inside the previous day's range. I want to see a stock go on a massive run, have multiple red days on lower volume, kind of lose the interest of longs. I want sellers to be in full control. And then I'm looking for a day where it starts to prove that it's bottom, maybe a couple wicks to the downside where normally it would continue making new lows, but it just kind of bounces back, go sideways into the close. And then the following morning, really looking to trade it off of yesterday's range. So I have a risk level. So this would be like if CGC were to have a red day today and then another one towards like $1, and dollar held perfectly like all afternoon on tomorrow. And then the next day it tried to break down below $1, held, and then was also green for the first time. It's a lot easier on stocks that haven't been green on their way down, just like it's easier to short stocks that haven't been red on their way up, because then that trend change from green to red or red to green is really significant, and you should get a bunch of buyers or sellers at any given moment. But really just trying to take advantage of people who got squeezed out, who are holding a little more patient with their short to try to cover as close to the bottom as they can. And then everyone who is part of the hype or the momentum wants to buy the stock that is at lower prices now, that should have some short-term momentum on the backside move. So the trigger for me is either a red-green move inside of yesterday's range or a slight green gap up and then hold green and then a high daybreak, or in the worst case scenario, just buying the previous day's like range to the upside, risking today's low day. So a couple different ways to trade it. I actually have a trade recap on a first green day setup. So link in the description if you want to see me trade XELA and show you exactly what I'm looking for. All right, one more and then we'll wrap her up. It's 9:20. Could you explain how to read dilution tracker? Sometimes has warrants at 120 from 2021 and the stock is already trading at 230. I shouldn't pay attention because they are from 2021? Question mark. I'm going to add a question mark. Kyle, do you know anything about those?
I mean, yeah, I would say so. When you start talking about dilution that's years old, to assume that the company has not used that dilution, I think is a little bit naive. I think if there's any significant volume on any significant days in the last couple of years, which again, most stocks have some kind of PR within a 2-year period to bring in some volume, that's usually the time companies want to sell those shares. So if, I mean, there's no set time frame, but I mean, if there's dilution that's 6 months to a year old, you know, I would assume it's either already been used or hasn't been used, or isn't important enough to be used. Let's put it that way. Maybe if there's dilution that's years old, but the stock has never touched that price since, then you can argue, okay, since it's going to be the first time it's able to actually exercise that dilution, then they'll actually do it. But yeah, 2021, that's quite a ways away at this point, especially for the stock being above that price since then. I would have to assume that dilution is mute and not eventful at all. So.
And I would just, with dilution tracker, since you're specifically talking about it, they do a good job of telling you what's registered, what's not registered, what is like what they're working on. Like, you know, this offering on PALI is priced, but it's not like ready to go yet. Correct, Kyle?
What? Oh, I have no idea.
Like an offering that, no, there's some on here that are like not registered. Let me see. But really, they also do a good job of showing you where the exercise price is and how many remaining. Like these ones from August 2021 there's only 7,500 of them. So if the stock is trading millions of shares, even if that was used today, it will exercise price 172. It's not that much. So we're really looking for serious dilution that is going to really affect the stock price. You know, so even if it's old, it still could be relevant. But usually they've used a lot of it, and I think Dilution Tracker does a good job of telling you how much is left. Like it always shows you remaining, whether or not it's limited by other shelves, and it shows you how much they've used as well. So it's a great little tool, something that's really helped in the fundamental analysis part of the game that we all are trying to get a little better at. But all right, everyone, that is going to wrap it up this morning. Thank you for everyone who joined. We'll be back at it again tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern for Wine Wednesday. The Clovers will be here with some special guests. So, yeah, join us if you want. Grab your favorite glass of wine. Sit down and ask some questions. For now, we're going to head into the market, head back into the Clover room. Again, if you're not there, 7-day trial, link in the description. And we'll see you again for Good Morning NASDAQ tomorrow morning at 9 a.m.
Amazing. Have a great day, guys.